Challenges have been announced as a part of the Splatoon 3 Sizzle Season update, and they're basically a revised version of League Battle. However, this time there'll be a lot of specific and unique types of challenges that you can play in. This is probably going to be one of the most major updates that we get for Splatoon 3 this year in terms of new features, and it's going to make up a big part of the game going forward. It's likely we'll see a lot of different kinds of challenges and special events based around them. So with this new feature dropping on June the 1st, I wanted to make a video going over some ideas for how you can prepare for challenges in Splatoon 3, and some essential information that you need to know getting into it. Nintendo hasn't revealed a ton of information yet about future challenges and such, but from what we do know, there is definitely some things we can do to prepare. So let's jump right into this. One of the first future challenges which has been confirmed by Nintendo is a mode where you'll basically be playing in fog. Now seemingly this could be taking place in either Turf War or it could be taking place in Anarchy Battles too. So depending on which specific mode you're playing, there are lots of different elements to consider here. But one thing you can do to help prepare yourself for what I think is going to be a fairly tricky experience is you can actually play some Salmon Run. If you didn't know, there are certain random Salmon Run waves where you can actually get complete fog, and those are the conditions that you have to play in. Now of course Salmon Run is a very different type of gameplay compared to Anarchy Battles and even Turf Wars. But I definitely think having some experience with the fog could be a good idea. After all, it seems like where that fog effect has come from, it's come from these random Salmon Run waves. Since lots of different weapons go into rotation with Salmon Run, hopefully some of the weapons you use more often will appear, and then you can start using those and practice with them in fog. You will be facing down a different type of enemy of course, but I still think it could be a very good experience. It's going to be super interesting to see how this plays out on modes like Tower Control and such, where everything is going to be so obscured. Playing close attention to the minimap is going to be essential with the fog mode, I feel like. I'd never really enjoyed fog in Salmon Run though, so I'm not sure this is going to be my absolute favourite, but it's certainly an interesting concept. It's definitely worth noting though that this particular mode is going to be really hard for weapons like snipers. Even some of the best snipers are going to struggle in fog because you literally can't see your enemies, which is one of the main points of being a sniper. So even if that is your preferred weapon choice, that might be something to consider before going into the foggy battles. Another mode which has been revealed is Trizookas, and I think a lot of you should already have experience with these. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that rather than using any other type of weapon, you'll literally just have Trizookas, and you'll be able to fire them off as much as you want. There might be some kind of limitation on how often you could fire them. I could definitely imagine them doing something like that to balance it out a bit, but it definitely seems like you won't be using your regular weapons. So right now I would definitely recommend using a weapon that has the Trizooka as its special, and just get a lot of games done with it. I've been practicing with it quite a lot recently since we learned about this update. I don't have the best aim honestly, so getting that practice in is going to be essential before this drops. Overall, this is going to be a very chaotic way of playing, but I think it should be a lot of fun really. It'll also be pretty balanced because everyone will be playing around with it. However, those who've already had experience with the Trizookas are definitely going to have the upper hand, so I'd recommend joining that club before this update drops. A whole bunch of weapons have the Trizooka as their special, so you can just play around with all kinds of different ones and try to use that special as often as you can in Turf Wars and Anarchy Battles. Then hopefully you should have a lot of practice with this particular weapon when the mode rolls around, and you'll be able to just destroy everyone else. The final new mode they revealed is actually one that we haven't really seen anywhere else in Splatoon 3, so I don't know how you'd prepare for this one. And it is basically low gravity where you can jump super high and attack your enemies. Once again, I feel like that could make things fairly tricky for certain weapon classes. Snipers are going to have to deal with people moving around a lot more than usual, which could make things tricky, although perhaps the high jumps might be a good way of predicting your enemy's movements and knowing exactly where to hit them. I don't really think there's any way you can particularly practice with this other than just practicing in the game in general, as it's such a unique mechanic, although I feel like there are some similar things that we have in the single player mode where you can jump on top of things and get really high jumps. I'm definitely intrigued about this particular mode though. I think it's going to be one of the most interesting to play on. And I have a feeling that certain weapon classes, especially things like rollers that can just go all the way up and then smash down on you, are going to do really well in this. Like I said earlier as well though, you're definitely going to have to time a lot of your shots well, because people are going to be moving around so much more than they usually do. So far in the trailer we saw this take place in Anarchy battles, specifically on tower control, which would be a really interesting way of playing it, but I'm assuming that you'll also be able to do this in Turf Wars, as well as other Anarchy battle types as well, which will definitely be really cool. Now, Nintendo recently revealed that the very first challenge will be one to commemorate the new season, and this will actually happen for a limited time at the start of the month. It'll be on the 2nd and also the 3rd as well, and it'll have specific time slots. These time slots are as followed: 9 PM to 11 PM, 5 AM to 7 AM, and 1 PM to 3 PM. And all of these times are in PT. I do think this is quite unfortunate, honestly. It means that if people are unable to play at these times, they're going to miss out on the very first challenge, which is such a shame. I'm not loving these limited time events that they've been introducing to the game, really. I do wish this was just a permanent mode, but hopefully challenges will have some kind of permanence in the game that we can enjoy anytime. I think it'd be such a shame if all of them were limited time. I really don't mind if some are limited. I think that makes sense to add in some special ones too. But really, with so many limited events in Splatoon 3, I think the last thing we need is even more of them, especially for what could have been a really exciting feature in my opinion. That would definitely be dampened a little bit if it is all limited. Still, the first challenge sounds really basic. They haven't given us too many details, but it just sounds like you need to win a lot of matches in Turf War and Anarchy battles. However, there are some really interesting details that you definitely need to know about. First of all, this challenge will take place on the 2 new stages, so you won't really have a ton of time to practice with these, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue. Of course, you could practice with Humpback Pump Track in Splatoon 2 if you wanted to, but I really don't think that's too necessary. This will be a really good opportunity to play on new stages a lot though, which I'm definitely happy about. Another very important detail that you should definitely consider is the fact that secondary abilities do not matter in Turf War battles for challenges. Your primary gear ability is the only one that matters, so you should definitely keep this in mind before playing. However, in Anarchy battles, this doesn't matter at all. You can use both primary and secondary gear abilities, so you don't have to worry about that. But yes, definitely for Turf War players, make sure you keep in mind what your primary gear abilities are, because this is going to be very important. Hopefully we'll learn even more details soon about what future challenges we can expect. I'm assuming Nintendo plans to do a lot and have a bunch of different variety. It seems like challenges will use elements that are already in the game, things like the fog and using just all Trizookas and such. I also would not be surprised if they took some mechanics from the single player story mode, so we could definitely see more of that happen too. But let me know your thoughts about challenges down in the comments section below. What are you doing to prepare for them if you are? If you made it to the end, then be sure to comment challenges gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, then be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 30k subscribers before the end of the year. If you want to support my content, consider becoming a member by clicking the join button or the link in the description. You can get some exclusive perks for doing so, like emojis, a badge by your name, and you even get featured at the end of my videos.